Okay, so it's finished up the second part of today at the Property Management Summit. A few takeaways. In a typical transaction, there's usually a disclosure from a property owner to a buyer, and where they tell about all the problems or information they know about the property. The issue for landlords and tenants is that there's no disclosures required, and I don't know, quite honestly, if there's a need for any disclosures. I'm curious to know from you out there, anyone who watches this, if you can respond and get back to me. Let me know if you've ever come across any reason why you've been harmed or negatively affected by a landlord or property management not disclosing something to you or someone you know as a tenant. Has there been any problems because of that? The second thing that I took away from today's meeting, a pay or vacate notice. If you're behind on rent, you're in breach of a contract, and they take that very seriously. That usually what happens, if you're late, they'll post a 3-day pay or vacate notice on your door, and you've got to comply within 3 days, or they file an eviction, get you out of the property. My takeaway that I've kind of gathered from them is that if you're a good tenant and just having a hard time, then they'll usually try to work with you in keeping you in the property. They're encouraged to do that and work with you and see if you can come up with a payment plan or somehow to come current, but they generally won't kick you out of the property. Of course, it's not everybody, but they're encouraging it. If you're a bad person, if you're hard to work with, if you're rude and obnoxious, and that's how you are to the property managers or property owners, they may be less inclined to work with you and just use the excuse of your non-payment to get you out of the property. And no matter what you do, if you're late and haven't paid within that 3 days, they'll proceed with an eviction. So it really pays to be cooperative, be kind, be nice, and work well with the property managers. So when you come in a tight spot and can't pay your rent, instead of posting that 3-day pay or vacate, they're more obliged to help you and work with you through that situation. And the third thing has to actually do with the eviction. Once you're evicted, that goes, so when people pull up a credit check or a background check on you, it'll show that you've been evicted. They now have made it so that eviction can be expunged from your record. So pretty cool. What that would look like is if you get evicted, but you end up coming current on that payment, making it a whole, and there's no more debts owed, then you can go back to the attorneys and the judge and ask for that to be expunged from your record, wiped out, clean slate, so it doesn't show up again. That's another reason to work with people, and even though a bad situation happened, an eviction happened, do your best to try to come current and try to work with them in doing that instead of causing problems. That way there's help down the road, and they're more cooperative with getting that off your record. So anyway, overall a good day, and hope you guys learned something and this was helpful for you in one way or another.